Alright, so let's get right into it. You've probably heard about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these other cryptocurrencies. Maybe you've even bought a little bit, hoping to see it go to the moon. But what is it, really? Think of it like digital money that isn't controlled by any bank or government. It's decentralized, which is a fancy word for saying no single person or company is in charge. Instead, it's run by a huge network of computers all over the world. These computers work together to verify transactions and keep the whole system secure. It's like a giant public Excel spreadsheet that everyone can see but nobody can change without agreement from the majority. Now, here's the thing, and it's a big one. The entire system relies completely on the internet. Every single transaction, every coin that gets mined, every time you check your balance on your phone, it all happens online. The computers in the network need to talk to each other constantly. They need to share information about who is sending money to whom. Without that constant communication, the whole thing just stops working. The internet is like the blood that flows through the veins of the cryptocurrency world. It connects everything and everyone together, making this digital financial revolution possible in the first place. So, why does this matter so much? Because if you're investing your hard-earned money into something, you need to understand its weaknesses. We talk a lot about market crashes and bad investments, but we rarely talk about the fundamental infrastructure that everything is built on. The internet is something we all take for granted. We expect it to be there, just like we expect the lights to turn on when we flip a switch. But what if it wasn't? What if the very foundation of this entire multi-trillion-dollar asset class just disappeared overnight? It's a scary thought, and one that every single crypto investor needs to consider seriously. Imagine all your stocks, your savings, and your investments. Now imagine that the only way to access them, to prove you own them or to use them, is through the internet. That's the reality for cryptocurrency. It's not like a gold bar you can hold in your hand or cash you can keep under your mattress. It exists purely in the digital world. This complete and total dependence on the internet is without a doubt the single biggest point of failure for the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. Understanding this is the first step to being a smarter and more prepared investor in this very new and exciting space. So, let's set the scene. It's a completely normal Tuesday in early 2026. You wake up, grab your phone to check the price of Bitcoin, which, let's say, has just hit a new all-time high. But something is wrong. Your Wi-Fi isn't connecting. Your phone has no signal. You try your computer, and nothing loads. You look outside, and you see your neighbors looking just as confused. News starts to spread the old-fashioned way, through word of mouth and maybe a battery-powered radio if you can find one. A massive, coordinated cyber attack combined with a series of rare solar flares has knocked out the global internet infrastructure. It's not just slow, it's gone. This isn't just a local outage that a utility company can fix in a few hours. We're talking about a worldwide event. The undersea cables that connect continents are dark, the satellite networks are malfunctioning, data centers from Tokyo to Toronto are offline. Experts are saying it could take weeks, maybe even months to get the system back online. Think about the chaos. No social media, no online banking, no streaming services, and no way to call anyone far away. The world as we know it would grind to a halt. It's a disaster scenario straight out of a movie, but it's one that highlights our dependency on this global network. For the world of cryptocurrency, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's an extinction-level event. The moment the internet goes down, the entire crypto market is instantly frozen. There are no more transactions, no more price updates, no more mining. The continuous 24/7 hum of the blockchain, that digital heartbeat that powers the whole system, falls silent. The lights have gone out and everything is plunged into an eerie digital darkness. Everyone is completely disconnected from the network that gives their digital assets any meaning or value. It's a scenario that seems almost too extreme to be real, but governments and security experts actually worry about things like this. A digital Pearl Harbor is a term that has been thrown around for years. A sophisticated attack on our internet infrastructure could be a weapon of modern warfare. When you combine that man-made threat with a natural disaster like a massive solar flare, the possibility becomes a little less like science fiction. And for the millions of people who have put their savings into crypto, this scenario would be their absolute worst nightmare come true. In the first few hours after the internet goes down, the main feeling would be confusion. Crypto holders everywhere would be frantically trying to check their phones and computers. They'd be rebooting their routers, thinking it's just a local problem. But as the hours pass, and the reality of a global blackout sets in, confusion would turn into a cold, creeping panic. The price tickers are frozen. The trading apps are just showing a spinning wheel of death. The constant stream of news and analysis from crypto Twitter is gone. There is only silence. A complete and total information vacuum where a bustling digital metropolis used to be. The Bitcoin network and all other cryptocurrency networks would effectively cease to exist in any practical sense. Remember, these networks rely on nodes, the computers running the software, to constantly communicate with each other to validate transactions and add new blocks to the chain. Without the internet, these nodes are isolated. A miner in China can't communicate with a node in the United States. Your transaction to buy a coffee with crypto can't be broadcast to the network. The entire system is paralyzed, stuck on the very last block that was confirmed before the connection was lost. For anyone who was in the middle of a transaction, their funds would be in a state of limbo. Imagine you sent 1 Bitcoin from your wallet to an exchange right before the blackout. You saw it leave your wallet, but the exchange never received it because the transaction couldn't be confirmed by the network. Where is that Bitcoin now? It's technically nowhere. It's an unconfirmed transaction floating in a digital void, unable to be processed or reversed. Millions of these transactions, worth billions of dollars, would be stuck in this state, creating an unimaginable mess if the internet ever came back online. During these first 24 hours, the value of all cryptocurrencies would, in theory, drop to zero. An asset is only worth what someone else is willing to pay for it. If there is no way to trade, sell, or even prove you own it, it has no practical value. Your millions of dollars in Shiba Inu coin are just a string of data on a device you can't connect to anything. The entire market, which was worth trillions of dollars just a day before, would have vanished into thin air. The panic among investors would be immense, but they would have no way to even express it or act on it. Let's talk about where your crypto is actually stored. You have 2 main options, a hot wallet or a cold wallet. A hot wallet is connected to the internet, like the wallet inside a Coinbase or Binance account, or a browser extension like MetaMask. An exchange is basically a bank for your crypto. In the Great Blackout of 2026, these hot wallets and exchanges would become completely inaccessible. You wouldn't be able to log into your account, see your balance, or make any trades. The websites would be down, the apps wouldn't load. Your crypto would still technically be yours, but it would be trapped behind a digital wall you have no way of getting through. The situation for people who used custodial services, like most major exchanges, would be particularly terrifying. Remember the phrase, not your keys, not your coins. This means that if you keep your crypto on an exchange, you don't actually hold the private keys. The exchange holds them for you. You are trusting them to keep your assets safe. In a no-internet world, that trust is meaningless. The exchange itself is offline. Its employees can't access their own systems. Your funds are locked away in the exchange's cold storage vaults, and nobody can get to them. You are completely at their mercy, hoping they survive this event. Now what about cold wallets? These are hardware devices, like a ledger or a Trezor, that store your private keys offline. This is what all the experts, including me, tell you to use. In a blackout, you would be in a slightly better position. You would still have physical possession of the device that holds your keys. You could plug it into a computer and see your private keys. You could even look at the little screen and confirm your ownership. You physically hold the proof of your assets. This is a huge advantage over someone who left their coins on an exchange. You are in control. However, even with a cold wallet, your crypto is still unusable. You have the keys to your house, but the house itself exists in a neighborhood you can't get to. You can't send or receive any crypto because there is no network to send it to. You can't even check the true balance confirmed by the blockchain. Your hardware wallet might show you the last known balance, but you can't make a transaction, so while you can prove ownership to yourself, you can't do anything with your assets. You're holding a key to a locked digital kingdom, waiting for the power to come back on. Now, let's smash the like button for the miners, the unsung heroes who keep the crypto networks running. Miners use powerful computers to solve complex math problems. When they solve a problem, they get to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain and are rewarded with new coins. This process is what secures the network and creates new cryptocurrency. It's a very competitive business that requires a massive amount of electricity, and you guessed it, a stable, high-speed internet connection. The moment the internet goes down, every single mining operation on the planet stops working. Think about the massive mining farms in places like Texas or Kazakhstan. These are huge warehouses filled with thousands of specialized computers, known as ASICs, running 24/7. They are all connected to a mining pool over the internet, working together to find the next block. Without the internet, these machines can't receive data about new transactions to include in a block, and they can't submit their work if they find a solution. These multi-million-dollar facilities would go from being a money-printing machine to a very expensive, very loud room full of useless electronics. The global hash rate, which is the measure of the total computing power on the network, would drop to zero instantly. The economic impact on miners would be catastrophic. These companies often have huge overhead costs. They have loans to pay for their expensive equipment and massive electricity bills to cover. Their entire business model is based on earning more in crypto rewards than they spend on operations. With zero income coming in, they would start burning through cash immediately. Many would go bankrupt within weeks. The small-time miners, the people running a few machines in their garage, would also be forced to shut down. The entire industry that forms the backbone of crypto security would be wiped out. If the internet were to come back online after a few months, restarting the network wouldn't be as simple as flipping a switch. Which blockchain is the right one? During the blackout, small isolated pockets of the network might have formed on local networks, creating different versions of the transaction history. This is called a blockchain fork. There would be a massive, messy effort to reach a consensus on the true state of the ledger. It would require huge coordination from the surviving miners and developers, and it could cause a crisis of confidence in the entire system, even after the internet was restored. Beyond the technical and financial chaos, we have to consider the human cost. By 2026, millions of people around the world could be using crypto not just for investing, but for everyday life. Think about people in countries with unstable currencies like Argentina or Venezuela. For them, holding their savings in a stablecoin like USDC isn't a speculation. It's a way to protect their family's wealth from hyperinflation. They use peer-to-peer networks to buy food and pay for essentials. An internet blackout would be devastating for them. Their life savings would vanish overnight, leaving them with no way to transact. Imagine the stories that would emerge. There's the small business owner in El Salvador who built her entire shop around accepting Bitcoin payments. Suddenly she can't pay her suppliers or sell her goods. Her business, which was a symbol of a new financial future, is now worthless. Or think about the freelance worker in Nigeria who gets paid by international clients in Ethereum. His income stream is completely cut off. He can't access his funds to pay rent or support his family. These aren't just numbers on a screen. This is people's ability to survive. The psychological toll would also be immense. We've all felt that mini heart attack when you can't find your wallet, even for a second. Now, multiply that feeling by 1,000,000 and apply it to your entire life savings. The feeling of helplessness would be overwhelming. There would be no customer service to call, no bank manager to visit, and no government agency to bail you out. You would be completely on your own, staring at a useless device that holds the key to your financial future, with no way to access it. The mental stress and anxiety would be a crisis in itself, and this crisis would shatter the trust that had been slowly building in cryptocurrency for over a decade. The central promise of crypto was to give power back to the people, to create a financial system that was open and accessible to everyone. But a global internet blackout would reveal the ultimate centralization, its dependence on the internet infrastructure. For many everyday users, this event would be the ultimate betrayal. They put their faith in a new technology, only to have it fail them in the most spectacular way possible. Rebuilding that trust, if the system ever came back, would be a monumental task. So, is it game over? Is there absolutely no way for crypto to survive without the global internet? Well, it's not that simple. Some incredibly smart people have been thinking about this problem for years. The answer lies in finding alternative ways for the network nodes to communicate with each other. The most promising technologies involve mesh networks, satellite broadcasts, and even long-wave radio. These systems could, in theory, create a backup communication layer for the blockchain to continue operating, even if it's much, much slower. One of the most talked about solutions is using a company like Blockstream, which already operates a satellite service. They broadcast the Bitcoin blockchain from space to almost every corner of the planet. This means that if you have a small satellite dish, you could still receive transaction data even if your local internet is down. While this system is mostly one-way, broadcasting data down, it could be combined with other technologies to send transactions back up to the network. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a critical piece of the puzzle for making Bitcoin more resilient. Another fascinating idea is using mesh networking technology, like GoTenna. These are small devices that can connect to your phone and create a peer-to-peer network using radio waves, completely independent of Wi-Fi or cell service. People have already successfully sent Bitcoin transactions over this kind of network. In a blackout scenario, communities could create their own local networks to broadcast and verify transactions. It would be very slow and limited in range, but it would allow for local commerce to continue. It would be a grassroots, decentralized internet for crypto. However, we need to be realistic. These technologies are still very niche and experimental. They could not handle the full volume of the global crypto market. Transactions would be incredibly slow, maybe taking hours or even days to confirm. The network would be fragmented into many local islands that couldn't talk to each other. So, while crypto might not die completely, it would be severely wounded and crippled. It could survive on life support, but it would be a shadow of its former self. It would be a system for hardcore enthusiasts and survivalists, not a global financial network. So what do the experts say about all of this? Well, people like Andreas Antonopoulos, a longtime Bitcoin educator, have talked about this for years. He always emphasizes that Bitcoin is designed to be resilient and censorship-resistant. He acknowledges that a global internet shutdown is the ultimate stress test, but points to projects like Blockstream Satellite as evidence that the community is actively working on solutions. His view is that Bitcoin is an idea, and as long as the idea and the data exist, it can be rebuilt. The ledger itself, the history of all transactions, isn't gone. It exists on thousands of computers worldwide, just waiting to be reconnected. On the other hand, more skeptical critics, like economist Nouriel Roubini, would see this as the ultimate "I told you so" moment. They have long argued that cryptocurrencies have no fundamental value and are built on a fragile foundation of hype. A global internet blackout would, in their eyes, prove them right. It would expose the fact that digital assets are only as valuable as the network that supports them. They would argue that real assets like gold, real estate, or even cash have a physical presence that makes them inherently more robust in a true crisis. So how can you, the average investor, prepare for such a low probability but high impact event? First, and this is the most important piece of advice I can give you, diversify. Do not, and I repeat, do not put all of your money into cryptocurrency. It should only be a small part of a well-balanced portfolio. You should also have investments in things that exist in the physical world, like real estate and stocks in companies that produce real goods. And yes, you should have an emergency fund with some physical cash. Cash would be king in a no-internet world. Specifically for your crypto holdings, the #1 rule is to get your coins off the exchanges and into your own custody. Use a hardware wallet. Write down your seed phrase, those 12 or 24 words, on a piece of paper or even stamp it into a piece of metal. Store it in a safe place, maybe even multiple safe places. This seed phrase is the master key to your funds. As long as you have it, you can recover your crypto on any new device once the network comes back online. This single step moves you from being a helpless victim to someone who has control over their own assets. So, to wrap everything up, the idea of a global internet blackout is definitely terrifying, especially for anyone invested in cryptocurrency. It would be an unprecedented event that would instantly freeze the entire multi-trillion-dollar market, lock up funds, and bankrupt the mining industry. The immediate aftermath would be chaos and panic as millions of people realize their digital wealth has become completely inaccessible and, for all practical purposes, worthless. It's the ultimate black swan event that exposes the single biggest vulnerability of the entire digital asset class: its absolute reliance on the internet. We've explored how the different parts of the ecosystem would be affected. Exchanges and hot wallets would become digital prisons for your money. Cold wallets would give you ownership but no utility. Miners would be shut down, and everyday users, especially those in developing countries, would be hit the hardest. It's a bleak picture that underscores the fragility of our increasingly digital world. The very thing that makes crypto so powerful, its borderless digital nature, is also its Achilles heel. It's a paradox that every investor needs to sit with and understand. However, the story doesn't necessarily end with a total apocalypse for crypto. We've seen that there are survival strategies. Technologies like satellite broadcasts and mesh networks offer a glimmer of hope. They show that the community is innovative and already building redundancies to make the network more resilient. It might not be a perfect system, and it would operate in a severely degraded state, but it might not die completely. The blockchain's data would persist on offline devices around the world, waiting for the day the network could be re-established. Ultimately, the key takeaway here is about being prepared and managing risk. Don't get so caught up in the hype of a bull market that you forget the fundamentals. Diversify your investments across different asset classes, both digital and physical. Take self-custody of your crypto using a hardware wallet and secure your seed phrase as if your life depends on it. An internet apocalypse is unlikely, but it's not impossible. By understanding the risks and taking simple, prudent steps, you can protect yourself and ensure that no matter what happens, your financial future is secure. Thanks for reading.